to be humble, to be kind. It is a giving of the peace in your mind, to a stranger, to a friend, to give in such a way that has no end. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other and nothing more. And to be bold, to be brave, it is the thinking that the heart can still be saved, and the darkness can come quick. The danger's in the anger and in the hanging on to it. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other, nothing more. And tell me what it is that you see, a world that's full of endless possibilities, and heroes don't look like they used to, they look like you do. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other, nothing more. We are how we treat each other, nothing more. We are how we treat each other.
speak, and deeds that beckon from the dreaming of the night to the labors of the day shines the everlasting light, guiding us upon our way. Though the path be hard and long, dark the prophet's living chorus, truth and freedom still to serve. Show the present path before us, as we dream, so shall we dare, as to service, hearts to prayer. Clouds of witness call us on, that the nobler day may dawn.
Well, that's an entrance. Please be seated. Good afternoon. It is my great honor to welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berkeley, a people and a place made holy by your presence. My name is Aya Simpson Newberry, and I have been in and around this church for almost 40 years, which I understand is about how long Marcus plans for his ministry to last. And in those 40 years, every single year, in a competition entitled, "Which Place Do I Go?" that is least likely to have a barrel of compost dumped on the chancel, UUCB would have won every time. But the thing is, this place is not just made holy by your presence. This place and these people is transformed by your presence. And it has been transformed by Marcus's presence in just this short time. Imagine how much dirt we're going to have in 40 years. This place and these people are transformed by Marcus's presence, and it is transformed, and we are transformed by every single one of your presences as well. If you walked through our doors for the first time today, and perhaps even for the last, we are made better and stronger for your presence today. If you have been knocking around for 40 or more years, we are made stronger by your presence today, and we are transformed by your presence. This is a place where you cannot come and stay the same. And so in that spirit, I invite you into worship today as we kindle our flame, knowing that it will never be the same, but this moment will stay with us always. Come, let us worship together.
The Tongan, the Free Wesleyan Tongan Church, who meets here in our building, joining us for this service of installation, and will offer greetings with a song. Thank you.
Greetings, brothers and sisters, from the Tongan American Free Wesleyan Church. We are so grateful, we're honored and excited to join you, to join you all today. So as we are getting organized up here, I'll let you know what song we're going to sing. We will be singing Tamai Hevani, meaning Heavenly Father. It's inspired by Ave Maria, and it was written by Franz Schubert. We will be singing it in our cherished Tongan tongue. And congratulations, we're so happy that to be invited to join celebrating the covenant between you, this congregation, and your new appointed pastor, Reverend Marcus Liefert. Thank you.
Nyawangoa, thank you. Big thank you for this music and for the welcoming. Sego se waguego, Patricia ni Quebecois, dano kanyangeha. E kokpeshni ichuwi ni Lakota Yungyats. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Patricia St. Ange. I'm Mohawk and Quebecois by birth. I'm adopted Cheyenne River Lakota and blessed with the name Woman Does Without Fear. Yeah. So as we turn to our land acknowledgement, I invite you to open your hearts and minds to the spirit of the words in addition to the words themselves. It's easy for land acknowledgements to become rote or hip or cool. Some elements of ceremony to check off as done. I'm reminded this afternoon that they also contain medicine. May you receive that medicine today. Aguego onska ondi dewa wenoni ne nguanigura. Tanon te tenu wirado ne ongwe son'a, tano ongwe homwe ne lijan aloni. Ne aguegos kana aganage, ji teotaworie ne yohonzate. Let us gather our minds and bundle them up as one mind as we send love, greetings, and gratitude to all of the people gathered here. And to those here via remote. Is this on Zoom? To the Zoomies. We particularly send love and gratitude for Marcus Liefert, who is courageously living into the power of his life's calling. We also send love to the Lejan Ohlone people on whose territory we are guests. We bless and honor them for their deep commitment since time immemorial to the care of this particular land. We celebrate with them as they have been given the resources to rematriate the Berkeley shell mound. Let's ponder for a moment what it means to settle in someone else's homeland and how we might be good guests here. Let's also remember where our own ancestral lands are and send love and gratitude for those who have tended them over generations. Let us send out love to all the people everywhere, that peace may always prevail as we mingle here together on Mother Earth. You want to come forward? Is this okay? Okay. So as we gather today for this important event in the life of this community, we come with gratitude in our hearts and recognition in our minds. Gratitude for Marcus and his commitment to ministry, the seeds of which, as we look back, were planted when he was a very little boy. I was part of a circle of women, Mother Heart Circle, that grew out of the Cakes for the Queen of Heaven class at the Oakland UU Church in 1990, or a long time ago. As we organized rituals at each other's homes, we got to know each other's kids. It was clear early on that Marcus had a powerful blend of a big heart and a keen sense of curiosity. It's been sweet for me to be a witness to his growing into the man standing here today. Marcus, may you be true to the sense of call you feel today. May you remember that you stand on the shoulders of your grandfather, your moms, and the many generations who came before you. And may you continue to be a blessing to them. May you hold in your heart your son, Henry, and all of those who will come after you, in your lineages, both biological and spiritual. That you may be an example of a person who lives fully and loves deeply, living into a commitment to be who and what your life calls you to be. I bless you and share with you the words of Howard Thurman, theologian, mystic, minister at the San Francisco Church for the Fellowship of All Peoples. He said, "Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive, and go do that, because the world needs people who have come alive." Marcus, may you remain true to all that your life calls forth from you, and may you continue to be a blessing to this congregation and to all who are touched by your ministry, here and in the world. Blessed be.
Good afternoon. I'm the Reverend Leslie Takahashi, and I serve the other Contra Costa congregation. However, I'm here today in my capacity as the president of the Unitarian Universalist Ministers Association, and what I want to say is that among the many other gifts that you'll hear about Marcus today, and congratulations both to Marcus and to the congregation for this wonderful event. Marcus is uniquely and especially gifted in the art of collegiality. So on behalf of the Unitarian Universalist Ministers Association, I offer this haiku. May you share much joy, and may sorrow point towards transformation.
Good afternoon, dear friends. I am the Reverend Rosemary Bray McNatt, and I bring greetings and congratulations to all of you from the faculty, staff, and students at Star King School for the Ministry in Oakland, California. What a pleasure it is to be part of this sacred day for your congregation and to have this chance to rejoice with you as you formally install the Reverend Marcus Liefert as your settled minister. Reverend Marcus is one of the 650 living graduates of Star King, and in taking his place here, he joins the hundreds of people our school has helped to prepare for leadership and service, from military chaplains providing a much-needed progressive voice in our armed services, to congregational leaders like Reverend Marcus, to institutional leaders up to and including our UUA president. We are proud of the work that we do, and we share that pride with you, this congregation. For decades now, the UU congregation of Berkeley has been our partner in this work of sacred social change. Some of you have served on Star King's Board of Trustees. Several of you have been faithful financial supporters of the school. You have sponsored our interns, and you have hosted our commencement ceremonies in rotation with other local congregations. In fact, it is UUCB's turn this year. So many of us will return to this sanctuary next month as we send the class of 2024 out into a world that urgently needs it. So thank you. Thank you, Reverend Marcus, for your representation of Star King, and thank you, UUCB, for your steadfast commitment to our school, to our faith, and to its collective flourishing. May your shared ministry be all that you dream of, and more. Congratulations.
And actually, if anybody else wants to join us down here or a little bit closer in the middle for a little story, if you want to hear it from closer up, come on down. Anybody? Wonderful. So, once upon a time, there was a bee. And this bee technically was named Bartholomew Huggins
the third, one of a long line of Bartholomew Huggins's bees, but he basically went by his first initial, which was also B, which was also the kind of animal he was. So it was nice and tidy. And he was so excited for the very first day that he was actually going to do the work of being a bee, because he had heard all about it, and he had been getting ready, and he had been limbering up, and he was so excited because he had heard about all of the pollen, and in particular, there was this one incredible sunflower, this one spot in this one garden where he had been told that there were the biggest, most amazing sunflowers that any of the bees had ever gathered from. And so he did. He zoomed right out, and he flew there, and sure enough, it was even better than he thought. The biggest thing he had ever seen, and he could just roll around in the pollen and gather it, and he felt purpose, and he felt like he was there for a reason, and he brought it back, and he was so excited, and he saw all of the honey being made from it, and he went right back out, and he was super committed, and it was a beautiful thing. And slowly, as the days went by, there was less pollen. And he was still excited for the task, but the fire had gone out a little bit. But he was still excited, and he could remember how beautiful it was when the sunflower was all huge and just covered in it. And another day, another 2 days went past, and even less pollen. And then all of a sudden, some seeds started popping up, and he saw the birds coming and gathering the seeds. And then it just wasn't the same at all anymore. He looked around at other flowers too, and he knew that maybe there were some other options, but he really wanted that one particular moment again, that beautiful, incredible moment again that he had that one first time. And another day he went, and not only were the seeds gone and the pollen gone, but now, all of a sudden, the tip of the flower started to droop down, and he couldn't take it. And he knew that he had to do something about it, and that if somehow he could just bring it back up, if somehow he could just strengthen that sunflower back up and bring it just the way that it was that one time so long ago, that all of a sudden the seeds would come back and the pollen would come back, and then it would be just like it was way back in the day. And so he gathered all of his strength, and he went to these swallows that were pretty nearby. And he knew that they also loved that plant because they loved gathering the seeds. And so he told them that if they worked together along with all of the other bees, and maybe they'd find some other people, that they could bring the flower all the way back up, and then the pollen would come back and the seeds would come back. And so they hatched a plan, and they gathered while they were making their nest. They gathered all sorts of other things, and they gathered a long cord, and they wove it together. And it was a hitherto unseen interspecies collaboration. They brought in some praying mantises, and the praying mantises got into it, and they were all done, and they all hinged on one silly, galumphy, wonderful lab mix of a dog. And the butterflies swooped in, distracted the dog, got the dog all excited, tried to bite the butterflies, couldn't get him, and started to chase him. And just then the swallows looped the little lasso around the back of it, and the dog pulled it and went over a pulley, and it yanked the sunflower right back up. And they tied it off, and sure enough, it was strong, it was tall, it was just like before. And the bee, Bartholomew Huggins, never felt so proud. And he sat on its leaves, and he waited. And nothing happened. And he was so sad. And he sort of sadly flew down to the ground. And then he heard this kind of a bit of a rough noise, and a worm, a big, juicy, sort of gross, but also wise worm came up out of the ground. And he said, "I have lived," kind of a drippy voice, "longer than you. Come here, Bartholomew." And he buzzed over. "I watched what you were doing, and I want to show you." And he reached up his tail. And Bartholomew was like, "Wait, what else do you do with the tail?" And he's like, "Shh." With his tail, he touched his little bee head. And all of a sudden, the bee had a vision of all of the other seasons. The bee had a vision straight forward through time. And he saw the plant going back down into the earth. And he saw more sunflowers coming up all over the place. Seeds that had been carried and planted. And he could see it all anew. And he knew that he wasn't losing the one sunflower that he had had, but there was more sunflowers and bigger sunflowers and more beautiful sunflowers. And he was so excited, and the worm took his little tail away. And bee came back right there, and he said, "I see. And the worm said, and that'll all be far, far away, but right here and right now, something special is happening. None of us have worked together like this before. And the birds and the bees and the mantises and me, this is a beautiful moment. But don't fear all that will become from the death of that plant. For the future is bright. And he went, and he made his gross noises and he sucked back into the ground. And the bee felt a lot better, and so should we. And so why don't you rise and we'll sing a song for you as you go out into the day.
Sure, yeah, you'll have them. Yeah, they should be here. Because we're gonna sing and then sing out. Perfect. My son, Marcus, and I have quite a bit in common. And one of the things is that both of us really love music, and we both really love camp. So a number of years ago, when Lila Ibrahim and Sherry Prudhomme started Chalice Camp, Marcus and I thought, they need a song. And so we took the words that Lila Ibrahim composed to explain Unitarian Universalism, we threw in a line from Rumi, and voila, we put it to music and we had the Chalice Camp song. Then, a few years later, I was part of a worship service at the Pacific Western Regional Assembly, and I did another version, which I would like to do with you all today. This one is call and response, which means that I'm going to sing a line, and then you sing it back. There's one difference the first time we sing it through is I'm going to say, it's a blessing you were born, and you're going to sing back, it's a blessing I was born. So Evelie is going to help you all. So are you ready to sing? It's a blessing you were born.
It's a blessing I was born.
And it matters what you do.
That is what you do.
What you know about God.
What I know about God
is a piece of the truth.
It's a piece of the truth.
Let the beauty you love.
May the beauty I love
be what you do.
Be what I do.
And you don't have to do it alone.
And we don't have to do it alone.
Now we're going to do it again, and this time we're going to all sing, It's a Blessing We Were Born. It's a blessing we were born.
It's a blessing we were born.
And it matters what we do.
And that is what I do.
What we know about God.
What we know about God
is a piece of the truth.
Is a piece of the truth.
Let the beauty we love.
Let the beauty we love
be what we do.
Be what we do.
And we don't have to do it alone.
And we don't have to do it alone.
So now we're going to sing that last verse again. And kids who want to stay here, you're welcome to stay. But if you'd rather go to childcare, this is the time when we're going to sing you out. It's a blessing we were born.
It's a blessing we were born.
And it matters what we do.
That is what we do.
What we know about God.
What we know about God
is a piece of the truth.
Is a piece of the truth.
Let the beauty we love.
Let the beauty we love
be what we do.
Be what we do.
And we don't have to do it alone.
And we don't have to do it alone.
No, we don't have to do it alone. And we don't have to do it alone. Cha-cha-cha.
divine Krishna declared the sum of duty. Do nothing unto others which would cause you pain if done unto you.
It is written, it is taught. May it be so.
Many windows, one light, many waters, one sea, all lifted hearts are free.
In the Gospel of Matthew, in the Christian scriptures, the Messiah Jesus says, "Whatever you wish that others would do to you, do so to them."
In the Buddhist text of the Udana Varga, the student is urged, hurt not others in ways that you yourself would find hurtful.
It is written, it is taught. May it be so.
Many windows, one light, many waters, one sea, all lifted hearts are free.
The Oglala Lakota spiritual leader, Black Elk, wrote, "All things are our relatives. What we do to everything, we do to ourselves."
In the ancient wisdom of Shinto, there is a saying, "The heart of the person before you is a mirror. See there your own form."
It is written, it is taught. May it be so.
Windows, one light, many waters, one sea, all lifted hearts are free. Salam, Tewa, Dohi, Pax, Patsomir.
I'm Pastor Jacqueline Duhart, and I hail from the body of a mighty woman who was born in Corpus Christi, Texas. This afternoon, together, we are a rainbow of diverse bodies and faces of many windows, holding sacred dreams. We are the seeds of a future yet to be realized. Through the ancient practice of prayer, meditation, toning our healing vibrations out into a needy world, I invite us to attune our collective hearts toward releasing what no longer serves our common good, to give our bodies permission to notice what is calling for healing, and to wholeheartedly celebrate this day that will never, ever come again. Please join me in prayer. Take a deep breath in and let it out with a glorious sound. You can do it. I know you can. Web weaver of abundant goodness and bright hope, all abiding mercies, powers of forgiveness, and the magics of tender, sweet love, we gather. Be with us and radiate beyond us. We gather surrounded by awe-inspiring beauty and holy wonder. We gather amidst unbelievable uncertainties, greed and war. Still, we gather. Still, we gather, blessed ones, to bless what lies before the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berkeley and to celebrate the installation of Reverend Marcus Liefert, my colleague. We pray using the prophetic words of W.E.B. Du Bois, now is the time for each and all to rise in body and spirit and to generously water the seeds of our ancestors. With courage and risk-taking, we are the people we have been waiting for. We are the people to imagine a world where all hearts, no matter their pronouns or the color of their skin, no matter anything, are free to love and thrive. Web weaver, help us make it so. Now is the time, not tomorrow or some more convenient time, to make a real big opening in your heart for the possibilities of genuine change and jaw-dropping transformation. May we make it so. O liberating energies that flow across all times in all lands, the time is now. Now is the time to seed some future possibilities. To believe that together with hearts lifted and open, we are enough to haul away the depleted dirt of our spiritual lives and to plant life-giving gardens of communities that hunger for the good news of this congregation and our faith, Unitarian Universalism. May we make it so. The arc of this time, our time, your time, is now. Now is the time, beloveds. Now is the time for us to offer our righteous best. Now is the time. We all are called. Allow the rainbowness of your love to be expressed, for now is the time, and you can make it so. Ashe, Shalom, Amen, and blessed be.
Good afternoon. What a wonderful afternoon it is. I'm Brian Baker, the Director of Music, and I have a small change in the program order to let you know about. Right now, the choir is going to come on up and sing We Are One, but don't worry, We Shall Be Known will happen at the offertory. Nothing is lost, just a slight rearrangement. Thank you.
I want to tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was a garden named Eden. And inside this garden lived a woman named Eve. Now, Eve loved that garden. She knew its pathways, its waterways, its best places to gather stones for altars. She knew how the water sounded and moved, and the way a path curves in mid-sentence. She liked the way that lavender smelled, or lemon balm crushed in hands. One of her best friends was Snake. Now, she and Snake would spend hours together in that garden, and Snake had a similarly uncanny ability, Chris, to see things from a different perspective. They would spend hours talking, Snake wrapped around her ankle, warm in Eden's sunshine, curious and good with questions. The kind of wisdom that comes when you live with your belly to the ground. And see, Snake knew something funky up in this garden. The garden was a walled space. The kind of wall that was maybe once a boundary, but now a border. And Snake, being so crafty, could feel how cold the concrete walls were. And Eve, noticing all the way up to the very top, a glimmer. Is that barbed wire? Broken glass? One day, as they moved along the perimeter of the garden's tall walls, they inquired with the angels at the security gate checkpoint. Oh, what is beyond? Might we see, might we know? Oh, said those guardian angels. Never you mind that. You have everything you need right here. God has created a perfect place. God has given you all you need. What is beyond a gate does not concern you. Go back and enjoy what has been made for you. Now, God, by some definitions, was a steward of the garden. By another, you might call God a landlord of the garden. And yet further still, perhaps God was a warden of the garden. And all three can be true at once. But by now, even Snake were hella curious. There's something undeniable within them, something that cannot be resisted, that refuses their continued infantilization. And they wonder aloud, what on earth should we do? Who could help us? Who is the wisest in the garden? And asking that, realizing both simultaneously, the trees, of course. They move quickly along the pathway, across the stream, over the lavender, grab the lemon balm, past the rock altars. When they find their beloved comrade, Adam, they beckon him to come along. Now, Adam, having a slightly closer relationship with God, feels uncertain. Yet something feels true in Snake and Eve's movement, the glimmer in their eyes, the testimony in their voices. The trust is there. Perhaps Adam does not fully understand, nor is feeling fully comfortable, but decides to go with them. Now, these two trees were magic. One tree, the tree of life, I believe you have one. And the other, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, were elder trees. They were the only ones in the garden with deep, knotted roots, and in their branches were markings and holes from birds nesting and gathering, and God doted over these trees, tending them meticulously. Over time, their branches had begun to fall and change, and even Adam would see God scaffolding the branches with wooden beams, propping them back up. And as leaves began to crumble, God diligently gathered them, disappearing the evidence. It was the tree of life, not the tree of death, after all. They approached the two trees. Which one should they choose? Let us eat from the knowledge of good and evil. Are you sure? Adam asks. No, Eve says. Are you sure we shouldn't? Eve asks. No, Adam replies. Well, may it be so, says Snake. And just as Snake offers the blessing, that tree of life leans in, and that tree of the knowledge of good and evil leans further, stretching and breaking the scaffolding like grandparents at a rite of passage, knowing that communal struggle is necessary. And they bite. Now, what is it that happens when you venture to the center of something and take a bite of what you find there? And what is it that happens when you realize the thing you thought served you, protected you, defined you, contained you is no longer viable? And perhaps worse, had limited your capacity to be fully alive. Now, leaning over, further still, having been begging to be eaten, the trees begin to collapse. And the crackling and the crumbling of the branches sends a shock wave through the garden, root systems talking to root systems, and more of these propped up trees give themselves over to the ground. And curious at the sounds of the cracking and the crumbling, the trio makes its way to the security gate, which, having been rocked by the quaking trees, has shaken itself open with relief. The three of them make a run for it, leaving bits of fruit along the way, a crumbling trail of possibility for anyone who might risk following them. Now, the sound of the breaking branches and the quaking ground alerts God, who had just been wandering and propping up trees in the garden. And needless to say, when God fully realizes what has happened, God is a little quick to anger. I mean, have you ever tried so hard to protect something by requiring it to do what you think it should do? And what happens when they do not? Now God is running and panting and fumbling and spitting and hissing and crying and follows that trail of fruit, stopping at the edge of the garden gate with the angels, seeing those three figures disappearing on the horizon. Screw them, God says. I will curse them. They shall be wounded, displaced, exiled, all genders, all abilities, all beings, all lovers, all ages. They shall think themselves separated. They are ungrateful, unworthy, and don't they know it was perfect? They will believe themselves alone. They will spend their lives believing it. Curse complete. God throws God's self onto the ground, watching the shadows on the horizon. But God's face and hands are finally fully in the dirt. This is the moment when anger turns to grief. What should I do? God pleads with themselves. And God is finally there, like snake, belly and heart and ear to the ground. And the ground answers back. You know what to do. And from the ground, God sees one tiny piece of fruit left behind. And with childlike precision and trembling hands, God reaches for it. Now, this moment matters.
it would be easy to see ourselves only as the Eves and the Adams and the snakes of the world. And in our faith spaces, how often we begin by introducing ourselves with the story of our exiling, the places we leave behind to come here, our innocence, the story of how someone else was wrong and bad, and we had to leave to seek something better. Now, this is an important strategy. At some capacity, we all have the agency to exit, and that has absolutely served us. It helps us survive in times when domination and abuse would kill us if it could. Yet, this strategy and other hands and other shapes has fueled the greatest of harms. It substantiates settler colonialism. I can leave my place and take yours. Mass incarceration. I will send you away. It fills our veins with microplastics and our neighborhoods with toxins. I can make anything go away. I can make anything I do not want, or I do not like, or I do not find useful to disappear. It allows me to self-righteously write this provocative sermon on a laptop mined by someone else's child's hands. It allows my tax dollars to fund a war, and it will fuel the tank of Elon Musk anywhere the hell he wants to go at the end of the world. Now, if exit stage left is the strategy we spend our individual lives practicing, it risks becoming our only collective skill. And we can satisfy ourselves with the fantasy or drive ourselves endless with the conclusion that some other place or some other person or some other religion or some other solution or some other planet is a place where we will be finally newly clean, newly innocent, and can really begin again progressing. So it matters to us what the characters do here. Now, when I first wrote a version of the story in my early 20s, I was somewhat displaced from my lifelong Unitarian Universalist roots. I was, you could say, disenchanted with the garden. I, like Marcus, grew up as a teenager surrounded by UU youth community and elders and talked at 14 about becoming a minister. Star King, watch out. But as a young adult and in college, I had a developmentally appropriate disenchantment. But it was also structurally supported, like a story with an inevitable ending. And Unitarian Universalism, the garden of my childhood, did not feel relevant in the world I was facing as a millennial young adult, the same age as beloved Marcus, facing a world on fire. So my young adult narrator was content with a jailbreak and a regretful God. And in that young adult version, God takes that bite of fruit, picks their butt up, dusts off their own naked self, raw, vulnerable, ready, and follows those shadows into the world. Why? Because God needed a change of perspective, some humility, and some goddamn self-responsibility. Now, that was my young adult response to the conundrum of God and Eden. What do you do in the face of domination? Duh, just leave it. Find something better. But now, foolishly, of course, I see that was not possible. On the tipping point of a precipice of a world on fire with nowhere else to go, I am not satisfied. And I feel a little bit like Eve and Adam and Snake, and we only just made it out of some fancy San Francisco escape room with only minutes to spare, and we're standing in a lobby somewhere taking a selfie with a bumper sticker that says, "We escaped," before we got back into our car and feel the existential dread of those that can't actually escape a world or a creation or a people who are actually co-creating and co-destroying themselves together. So if there is nowhere else that we can go, shake it off. There is nowhere else we can go. Then we got to know what we're doing with Eden. And you are at the beginning of a ministry partnership with Reverend Marcus, who's a little bit like Eve. Really wants you to eat that fruit. Leaning all the way over with that lemon balm in his hands, building rock altars, putting rainbows up and dropping compost on your front porch. But for sure, he is not interested in propping up dead sunflowers and old tree branches. And he's definitely not interested, despite all signs to the contrary, that you should leave Eden. And from personal experience, I know he is exceptional in an escape room. And he likes to tell me when he imagines what our religious communities could be, we're going to have to remember why they really poured the concrete. Really. He, of course, is imagining those elders, those former gods of gardens, who built and planted and imagined what could nourish and sustain and meet life as they knew it then. I'd like to believe that those ancestors also planted trees at the center, and that those trees were taproots of permission that give us the option to, must in fact change. And this, writes decolonial educator Vanessa de Oliveira, is the shape of thinking and creating when thinking and creating is on its best behavior. It reimagines its view of the world every time life demands that it do so. Now, liberalism, that tradition we call ours, is not the shape of an inevitable infinite horizon of rainbow possibilities, despite evidence to the contrary. It is metabolism. It is metabolic. I am again influenced by Vanessa here. Metabolic practice is the capacity to simultaneously assist something in dying while assisting something in birthing simultaneously. All the while, you must resist your urge to suffocate the future with your projections of what you would like it to be, born of the grief from your past experience. Essentially, it's composting. Compost is the ability to take what we think of as waste, mix it with the right elements and heat and attention to transform it completely, not from a clean slate, but from what it is right now, but without overheating, overwatering, over-intervening, so that life might nurture itself out of it. It's the stuff life is made of, turning shit into life. And what is the shit? It is the shadow of our doom and fear. It is our untended trauma, our projections, our competition, our sizing up one another, our withholding for the purposes of remaining better than, our dread of being useless, our fear of being uncool, our power and control, our own unchecked internalized and externalized tendencies towards domination. And it's also the shadow of our rainbows. It's our solutionist, easy answer, know-it-all, anxieties made certain, obsessions with innocence and purity and being sexy and interesting and giving provocative sermons and happy avoidance, good vibes only, let's just do it the way we did before, let's just do it different so that we did it differently, moral righteousness. And what if this was the place where you learned to compost that shit together? And what if this was the place where people learned how to be born, how to live, and how to die on a transforming planet? Now, our religion could be wildly alive if we're willing to hospice and midwife the shit we give ourselves, that we give each other, the shit we've inherited and co-created, and the shit we hold so dear. And this will feel easeful to some of us, and some parts of us. It will feel scary to others and to some parts of them and us. But like Adam, we need not understand everything or feel certain about how it'll work to know that in relationship, it is trustworthy. And as Marcus likes to tell me when he speaks of wild dreams for you all and the future of our faith, we don't all have to do it on the front line, but we all do have to believe in it. So where did we leave God? God was on the ground with fruit on their tongue. And perhaps from that vantage point, Eden is not a perfect place to return to or refurbish like in the 19-somethings, nor was it a place to condemn, judge, and snob our noses at. Perhaps it's a place to compost. So God takes that bite of fruit, and God sends an angel to tell Adam, even snake, that they are open to any repair work that they would like to do when they are ready. And God dusts themselves off, and God leaves those gates open, and God lets these concrete walls crumble. And God sits with elder trees, or perhaps redbud trees, with their broken branches and broken heartwood on the ground, and their crumbling leaves, and God watches. And God lets something die. And God lets something be out of their control. And God sits with uncertainty and messiness, and God practices what the trees are teaching. And God lets something be born that isn't theirs and is beyond what they imagined and maybe wasn't exactly what they were thinking about, but God and garden metabolize themselves. And perhaps it will be better than what we think of as good or bad. Perhaps it will be compost. May this be the beginning of a metabolic ministry for you and for all of us who are moved by you. Blessed be.
When Marcus and I were in seminary together in the late aughts, there was so much possibility and excitement about what we could do with our ministries, but I don't think either of us really appreciated what the changes that would occur in the world and the changes that would be required of us in order to engage deeply with this ministry. Ministry in Unitarian Universalism right now is really at an important and challenging crossroads. Here in this wonderful celebration of your launching of your ministry with your new minister and your new energy and your new commitment might not be the best time to bring up this crisis of crossroads in UU ministry, but we're not isolated here. That vision, beautiful vision, requires commitment and engagement with Unitarian Universalism and the saving message that is possible and what Unitarian Universalism has to offer this world at this time. Powerful, incredible, meaningful. But here we are at a time when many ministers are leaving the ministry or struggling to find ways to make ministry sustainable. That is a reality, and there are many causes and reasons for that, historical as well as where we are right now in the world. But here's where you come in. One of the challenges that is holding people back, holding us back from having this diverse, amazing rainbow of possibilities of ministers, is the financial obligations of ministry. The reality is now for a new minister starting out in seminary, they can expect to have 6 figures of debt when they leave. And they can expect to not make enough money to allow them to live and pay off that debt. That's the reality that many people face who are considering going into the ministry. And so the Living Tradition Fund is a response to that. And it's a tradition during these times that at ordinations and installations that the offering is dedicated solely to the Living Tradition Fund, which allocates loan forgiveness, money to pay off loans. It gives scholarships to starting out ministers, and it also provides support to retired ministers who are finding themselves in financial difficulty. A lifeline. So I'm asking you, as you consider during the music, as you consider what you want to contribute, I'm asking you to think about that amazing young person going into ministry who's sitting there thinking, how am I going to survive this loan that I have to take out? I ask you to think about that individual, that minister who's in their first 10 years starting a family and is so distracted by their worry about money that they're not able to be truly present with the commitment, with their engagement, with their congregation, and with their ministry. I ask you to think about them. And I just want to say, on this amazing day, at this amazing time, this is not a $10 ask. This is really kind of a $100 ask. And maybe for some of you, it's a $500 ask or more. I think there's going to be baskets going around. But if you don't have that kind of money or don't have a checkbook, you can just go online to UUCB and make your commitment, or you can go online to the UUA and find the Living Tradition Fund and send money either today or when you remember to do it when you get home. We are in this together. That compost is not going to grow itself. We're in this together, and we need to fund our future of Unitarian Universalism. Thank you very much. May it be so.
So I'm really honored to ask to lead this song. And I was at the UU Oakland, and I got a text from Reverend Marcus saying, is it okay if my mom helps you lead the song? And I said, sure, why not? So Reverend Laurel is on guitar, and I'm on drum. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change of life from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. Be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
Marcus, on this day that you've dreamed of for so long, I bring you a charge and a blessing. But first, I want to start with a complaint. You know what's wrong with religion? I'll tell you. People seek out spiritual communities and congregations because they're hungry for something to hold on to. They're thirsty for what matters most. They're aching for a pathway to travel with others toward this beautiful promise of greater depth and amazement. And then instead, they're put on a committee or a task force. Their brilliant rough edges get sanded down. Their genius gets squelched. Their hunger goes ignored. And they're asked to take up the work of institution keeping. You know what else is wrong with religion? There are some people wild enough and unhinged enough to decide to follow the call into ordained ministry, and at great effort and expense, they subject themselves to the discipline of learning a tradition and being able to pick up the mantle of ministry, not only to follow the call of the holy themselves, but also to help others move out into that beautiful wilderness. They do all of this in service of the beautiful dream, and then what happens? They too end up at committee meetings. They too end up setting the dream aside in favor of some watered-down, second-hand, lukewarm spit bowl institution keeping, far from what they set out to do and be about in the first place. I want you to know that as you go deeper into this ministry, you are at great risk of you losing your life. And I don't mean that you're going to stop breathing. I don't mean dead in the way that they will bury you. I mean dead in the way that some ministers look after a few years in the saddle. That glassy, far-away stare, that agreeable grin ready for coffee hour, that perfectly appropriate, even admirable bearing showing up again and again as the moderating influence in a sea of demands and personalities. That's what can happen to ministers. I've seen it. We all have. Somewhere along the way, they lose themselves. They give up on the dream and serve only the duty and the burden and the tasks of ministry. And that's not only a loss to themselves, it's a loss to the congregation, starved in this desolate landscape for beauty, for meaning, for experiences that remind them that they are alive. So my charge to you, Marcus, is that with everything you are, you proclaim yourself an enemy of boredom. My charge to you, Marcus, is that you fight for your life and fight for your joy, as so few clergy do, and as only you can. My charge to you, Marcus, is that as you come alive again and again and find ways to stay alive in this very difficult undertaking that you have agreed to, that you don't become one of those ministers who's only technicolor and vivid and interesting in their off hours. My charge to you is that you bring the whole, woolly, weird, off-kilter, beautiful gift of yourself into the ministry, into the pulpit, yes, but also into finance meetings. Say things in pastoral care that aren't polite but are honest. Do things in staff supervision that make the staff remember that they and you are all human, all working out how to be human in this world every day. My charge to you, Marcus, is that even though there may be tidal forces that would seek to pull you under into some square-cornered institution keeper concerned only with metrics and policies and tricking people into the idea that you've got it all figured out, that instead of all that, you would be resolute in your commitment to remain through your time with this congregation 3 things: worthy, wild, and whole. Worthy, that means precious, that means treasured, that means of inestimable value, not because of what you know or what you do, but because of who you are. And wild, secondly, that means remaining a vehicle always of the holy, creative, uprising spirit of love, more oriented to the turn of the seasons than the turn of the clock, more in love with the earth than ever with urgency, so open-hearted that you weep regularly and laugh out loud, and fall silent sometimes just to drink in the moment. So wild that people know that with you, they're getting the real deal, the full story, for better or worse. And last of all, whole. Marcus, bring everything that you are into this ministry, to these people. Trust them with abandon, that they can not only tolerate, but can revel in the full-on and large-hearted weirdo that you are. Bring it to them, everything, your doubts and your convictions, your questions and commitments, your anger and your hunger for a peace that is real. None of this depends on anyone else. No one else can decide how much or little of your worthiness, your wildness, and your wholeness you're going to bring to this ministry. And no one else can organize your life so that you put your love with Caitlin first, and your love for Henry first, and your love for the mountains first, so that when you come into the ministry, into the congregation, all your own needs are met. But if you can figure out how all those sustaining commitments and find ways to stay nourished, and you can get enough sleep, if you can figure all that out, and if you decide with tenacity that you are going to show up worthy, wild, and whole, the gift of your ministry will be eccentric, creative, powerful, and holy. And this community will forever be changed, and the people in it will too. And you will leave a legacy years from now of what it means when a people has come alive because one of them, you, was willing to do it first. So that's the easy part for me, just saying it all. Now the hard part's up to you to go do it. And I know you can, and I'm going to love watching you roll.
Thank you. The subject this afternoon is surely love. Love. Oh, what joy, the coming together of this minister and these people, this congregation. What a blessing to love and be loved and bring more love into the world. We are glad to be here to congratulate you and celebrate with you.
Look at all you have done to make this a day of celebration. This service, labors of love, rainbows, rainbows, music, hospitality, a party. Yeah. So much has happened to bring you to this joyous day, to this good chapter.
Yeah. Ministry is such a privilege, an honor, to be present to people in their joys and sorrows, to worship together, to witness and act for justice and love in the world, to bless babies, marry couples, hold up the essence of life in memorial services.
Ministers come to love the people they serve. Ministers are friendly, and yet not friends with the members. Ministers companion members through big life events. And ministers are people with their own families, their own big life events. They need to make their own communities where they can share their vulnerabilities, their joys, their sorrows. Ministers are part of the congregation and separate from the congregation.
And when ministers retire, they have to figure out who they are separate from their ministry.
And we too are still uncovering, discovering who we are now.
No minister can be everything you want them to be. Marcus is amazing, gifted, talented, loving, wise, competent, and still he won't be all you want him to be. Let him shine with his gifts and his talents.
In church life and in ministry, there is always more to do. Not everything needs to get done. Things will not always get done well. Embrace the good and the messes. Forgive one another and keep going.
We see humans warring and divided. Do it differently. Keep your disagreements in perspective. Be open.
Things that you used to do as a congregation may not work now, or not be sustainable now. Things you tried before and abandoned may work now. Be willing to let go of what no longer works. Let it be compost. There is such rich soil here with the possibilities of bringing forth new life.
Give Marcus the space and the time to make a life separate from you. Time for his family, his friends, his colleagues, and for himself, his spirit.
This is a great chapter in the story of this congregation.
Enjoy, celebrate, love one another.
May this chapter live long, be as a garden, and bear good fruits. Rejoice and be glad. Hooray and hallelujah.
When I think of church, I think of a place where I can be accepted for who I am. As such, Marcus, we charge you to make sure that all people, no matter their age or their heritage or what they look like, feel accepted here. People come to church expecting a welcoming community that accepts them for who they are and makes them feel like they belong here. I hope that you can make this happen in our church.
Marcus, we charge you to mend the age gap present in our congregation. Our congregation is trying to get more families into service, so maybe the best route to go with that is make services more family friendly. Separation between generations is somewhat of a default, but when parents come to scope out a congregation, they'll want to see activities and celebrations where they and their kids can have fun, because if there's only a thing for adults, they'll get worried about their kids being bored. But if there's only a thing for the kids, they'll not take our congregation seriously.
We charge you to make sure that this church space that we are on is kept in good condition. We are very lucky to have a church as nice and big as this one. And as such, it is only fair for all the people that come to this church every weekend that people treat this space with respect.
We charge you to listen to all sides, between generations, of a problem. Because if we only cater towards the older generations, as we sometimes do now, families may not want to attend church, and their concerns regarding their kids won't be met, and youth won't want to come to church if their ideas are snuffed out. If you help us take all sides of an argument into account, the congregation will come to a better solution that will make more people happy.
It dishonors those who go before us to lift me up to the light of change. There is hurting in my family. There is sorrow in my town. There is panic in the nation. There is wailing the whole world round. For I am open and I am willing. For to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who come before us. So lift me up to the light of change. May the children see more clearly. May the elders be more wise. May the winds of change caress us, even though it burns our eyes. For I am open and I am willing. For to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift up to the light of change. Give me a mighty oak to hold my confusion. Give me a desert to hold my fear. Give me a sunset to hold my wonder. Give me an ocean to hold my tears. For I am open and I am willing. For to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift us up to the light of change.
May 4th, 2014. May 4th. Like every other day, it was a day like all days, filled with those events which alter and illuminate our times. Only 10 years ago, that was the day that was special for Marcus, very special, because that was the day he was ordained. Now, that was also a very special day for me, because as board president of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berkeley, I was the person who, along with the board president in Oakland, who were able to conduct the ordination of Marcus. Now, look where he is. Marcus is now going to be made into the settled minister of the church where one of his ordaining lay people came from. And I am very pleased to introduce to you the two people, the co-presidents of UUCB, the current presidents of the board. And they're going to make him our minister. We have here Pierre Sun Ho, and Helen Tinsley Jones.
Will the members of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berkeley please rise in body or spirit for the ceremony of installation? In the Unitarian Universalist tradition, the authority and privilege of calling ministers rests solely with the congregation. Since its founding in 1891, our congregation has served to create loving community, inspire spiritual growth, and encourage lives of integrity, joy, and service.
Today, we recommit to serving that mission within and beyond these walls as we install the Reverend Marcus Liefert as our 20th settled minister. Members of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berkeley, are you ready to covenant together with Marcus today, to plant together our hopes and dreams for a shared ministry of beauty, depth, and purpose? If so, say, we are. We are.
After an extensive search process, we voted to call you, Marcus, as our settled minister last May. In August, you began serving as the spiritual leader of this congregation. Today, we formally acknowledge the covenant we have entered into together as we install you as our minister. Reverend Marcus, are you ready and willing to undertake the commitment of this ministry?
I am.
So please join us in speaking these words of installation on the screen. Members of UUCB, we, the members of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berkeley, do hereby install you, Reverend Marcus Liefert, as our settled minister. We dedicate ourselves to share the ministry of this congregation with you as we work together to serve its mission. We offer you a free pulpit and call you to speak the truth as you know it. We commit to getting our hands dirty, doing the work of love and justice with you. We ask you to accompany us in living and in dying, to laugh and cry with us along the way.
With deep gratitude for all who have come before me, with great joy and at your faith in me, and trusting in the strength, grace, and guidance of the profound love that I know is the ground of all being, I dedicate myself to this ministry into which you have called me. I give myself to this call with all I've got, renewing my commitment to a ministry and a life that is worthy, wild, and whole.
there's more. Will all those friends, family, and colleagues gathered here now rise in spirit or body and join the members of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berkeley in affirming this installation?
With joy, we recognize and affirm this call. We rejoice with you on this occasion and offer our blessings on your ministry. We will be there for you, both in moments of celebration and also in times of hardship and challenge. May you feel our hands on your shoulders. You do not answer this call alone.
Now, let us all join in affirming the covenant of our shared ministry. May this ministry be a source of healing, hope, and transformation. As we inevitably make mistakes and hurt one another, we commit to tending the space in between us, making room for the vulnerability and the power of each of us. As we make room for things to die and to be born, may we let each other change, trusting the wisdom in what we don't yet know. May our shared ministry be a blessing in our lives and the world. Amen.
So gratifying for us, and a consummation of the work of our search. As we digested all of the input from the congregation, we 8 members of the search committee came to a pretty confident consensus on what we were looking for in our new minister. We called those characteristics our must-haves. Then the hard work started. We had to assess a group of very qualified candidates. But along the way, we struck gold. Reverend Marcus, you kept hitting every one of our notes on the scale. Here are some of the characteristics on that scale. We found you spiritually deep and courageous. You love people.
You listen, you are collaborative, you are honest and humble.
You are a complex and nuanced thinker, playful and serious at the same time.
You create mosaic sermons that touch mind and heart equally, lifting us.
You are family-oriented, you connect with kids, you make people feel safe, comfortable, understood, and appreciated.
We found you funny. We found you an avid reader who's been able to stretch our minds. We find that you share your vulnerability, and we're so grateful for that. And you're empathetic towards other people.
You're visionary and appreciate our connections to the wider world.
You balance the job of minister and spiritual leadership with an ineffable spark of playfulness. You, Reverend Marcus, were worth all the work. And we celebrate your return to UUCB. With the gift of this stole, we honor and celebrate our shared ministry with you through all those 40 years ahead.
I got a little something for you too. And I asked my moms and my wife if they'd come help carry it out. We're going to plant a tree today. It is a redbud tree out on the hilltop here, out by the terrace, and I thought it would be nice if we had a bench under it. I hope that you will sit with me. That we will gaze out at the horizon together and talk of things great and small. Thank you all.
I wonder if we could just move the bench over to the side so we'll have a little bit of room. This is a point in the service where we all get to be involved one way or another. You know, it's one thing to have a pile of compost as a neat little pile, a nice visual symbol sitting right here in the middle of the chancel. But somehow that just doesn't seem like enough. It seems like, you know, this wants to go somewhere. This wants to be used. And I don't know about you, but you know, when I'm working in the garden, I don't dress up. So I feel a little bit overdressed for this part. And you know, I have to confess that as a past president of the National Organization of Fastidious Men, I do have questions about this, but you know, I'm ready to go for it, and I hope you will be too. But I must confess that I'm the sort of person that would do this and then do this. But we have to get our hands dirty. We have to get our hands dirty. And Marcus has chosen to have the laying on of hands with him right in the pile of compost. At least kneeling in it, but that's not the end of it. So I need a little bit of help. I mean, first of all, you know, the visiting clergy, what I need for you to do is to come up and get just a handful, just in one hand, so you have one hand free. Come up right now, get a handful, and then you're going to go around the sides of the congregation. We're going to circle the congregation with your presence, and do this, please, in a non-orderly fashion. Just come right on up, you know, and do it quickly, because we don't want to be here all day. So just a nice, you know, and you know, one of the things about, you know, I would say that most of us have the luxury of being able to get our hands dirty and then to clean up. And then we get our hands dirty again, and then we clean up. We get our hands dirty, and then we get to clean up. So just so you all know who are getting your handful of dirt, eventually this is going to end up out on the tree outside. And if anyone else ends up with a handful of dirt, that's where you're going to go with it in the end. But first we're going to get all these folks wringing us with their dirty hands. And just take a look at them so you can see that they're there in support and in solidarity. You know, this compost is really quite well behaved. It's got this wonderful kind of dry quality. It's not goopy or messy. It's kind of uniform, but you know, that compost was made from everything. So even though it looks like it's kind of one thing, it's really made up of everything. And then it's going to become something else. The old becomes new, becomes old, becomes new, becomes old, becomes new. At one point, like if someone were to do this in a bunch of years, perhaps one or more of you could be in this pile. Who knows? Because, you know, some of us are choosing to compost at the end of life. And I'm pretty sure the sunflower from the children's story is in this particular pile. So first of all, I'm going to ask Marcus if you just want to kneel right here. And then I'm going to invite the search committee, and you also represent the board, and I'm going to ask the youth who were up here, come up, be part of the circle, and family. Can you come up? Everybody, if you want to get a handful of dirt in one hand, and then make contact with Marcus or someone who is in contact with Marcus. We really hope that the cleanup process at the end won't end up being the job of one person. So if you're a fastidious person at the end of the service, please come back in and do a little sweeping. All right, and now anyone else who wants to come up, come on. Actually, everyone is going to come up, and you're going to get in touch with either someone who's in the circle or whatever, or someone who's nearby, so that we're all connected hand to hand. Clergy people on the outside, if you'll connect also with the people in next to you or in the pews, so that eventually we're all hooked up together if you're willing and able. If you're not able to make direct contact, you can just put a hand up into the air. And after the service, if you don't have a handful and you want one, you can get one. Come on down. Everybody come on down. Get connected. Enjoy the contact while you have it. People are still coming in. Let's join our hearts and minds together. We call in the God of light and laughter and possibility and of all things. We call in the power of community and connection, because we don't do the dirty work alone, we do it together. We call in the power of family and friends, the people who will be supporting Marcus as he does his work. We call forth the magic of the earth, represented by this very real compost that we can feel on our hands, that, Marcus, you can feel on your knees. Receive the power receive the love. Receive the support. As you join with this community of people to do important work in the world, whether it's pulling a small weed, but what's a weed really? Or bulldozing something to make room for something new. And remember always the compost that you came from and that we will all return to. We ask this in the name of all that is good, and with blessings, and with hope, and with possibility. So be it. Amen. Ashe.
I'm going to get up from this compost in just a second. And we're going to all go out there and plant a tree. And I know you can't see me, most of you, but I want to play in the compost with you. I want to make rich, rich compost out of our collective shit. And then I want to paint beautiful rainbows everywhere we go. May it be so, and amen.
If you want to take your compost out to a place on the tree, and also there's a place out there to wash up.
Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here my ship's companions are the kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel.